dear audience. Today I'd like to share some reflections on the integration of Eastern and Western philosophies. Since we introduced the mathematical framework of 4-adic, 8-adic, and 64-adic derived from ancient Chinese philosophy, many have argued that Eastern and Western thoughts simply cannot merge. But in reality, as long as we are human beings living on earth, breathing, eating, and thriving in communities, our ways of thinking are fundamentally the same. The ancient Chinese philosophical saying, Buddhism and Taoism are one family, reminds us of this. In fact, there is a remarkably high degree of spiritual overlap between Eastern and Western philosophies, especially when Western thought encounters Taoism or Buddhism. It often sparks astonishing cross-civilization resonance. For instance, Heidegger criticized Western metaphysics for forgetting being itself while clinging to beings. His concepts of clearing and coming into one's own align fundamentally with Laozi's description of the Tao, that inexhaustible source of life which cannot be objectified or spoken of, in the dimension opened by non-being for all things to manifest. Essentially, they are different linguistic expressions of the same reality. Then consider Schopenhauer, who viewed will as a blind, ceaseless life force and identified it as the root of suffering. His path to liberation was the denial of will, achieved through artistic appreciation and asceticism, to attain a nirvana-like tranquility. This deeply resonates with Buddhism's idea of escaping suffering, as well as the Taoist notions of non-action, non-contention, and fasting of the heart. Schopenhauer himself believed that Eastern wisdom perfectly confirmed his philosophy. Spinoza's doctrine of God is nature is imbued with pantheistic colors. He emphasized that only by rationally understanding the divine laws of nature can humans free themselves from the bondage of emotions and achieve intellectual love of God. This perspective of uniting with the universe through knowledge elegantly echoes Zhuangzi's realm, where heaven and earth are born with me, and all things are one with me. It's truly inspiring to see how Eastern and Western wisdom converge in such harmony. Of course, we also hear opposing voices. For example, the Yogacara school, founded by Master Xuanzang and Descartes, both start from consciousness, but their aims are vastly different. Yogacara seeks to dismantle attachment to phenomena and realize non-self, whereas Descartes aimed to establish the self as an unshakable first principle. On the surface, they appear to be heading in opposite directions. Similarly, Zen Buddhism and Descartes' rational paths of I think, therefore I am seem incompatible. Zen holds that the self constructed through thought is merely an illusion, and true original nature must be realized by transcending thought. Imagine a Zen master hearing, I think, therefore I am. They might shout, who is thinking? Thus breaking the chain of logic to point directly to the source of thought. Descartes uses thinking to build the self, while Laozi and Zhuangzi use forgetting to dissolve it. One side elevates subjectivity, while the other merges the boundaries between subject and object to unite with the Tao. Superficially, they stand at opposite poles. But if we adopt an existentialist dialectical perspective, we can reinterpret I think, therefore I am with a modern depth. We first need to construct a healthy self-awareness. Only by affirming the existence of the self can we truly forget the self. our fragmented, weak self cannot be forgotten, it only sinks into chaos. In fact, the self as a vessel is a necessary tool for illuminating the mind and seeing nature by building a clear cognitive subject through thought. A well-functioned self would gradually become aware of our own limitations, transforming from a probe in someone else's movie into an independent observer. Only then do we have the foundation to transcend thought, dissolve the subject-object divide, and unite with the Tao. If we try to skip the existentialist stage and directly pursue non-self, it often degenerates into a decadent, irresponsible escape. Because without a self, how can we speak of forgetting the self and oneness? The boundaries of self-awareness bring both independence and isolation, stubbornness and suffering. At this stage, the self constantly falls into opposition, judgment, and desire with the external world, becoming a source of affliction. As mentioned earlier, the self is merely the foundation for transcending thought. It is still a product of thought itself. It is precisely at this point that the Eastern method of forgetting the self begins to reveal its power. Forgetting does not mean destroying established psychological functions, but rather ceasing to identify with them or be limited by them. In simpler terms, it's shifting from I am my emotions to I experience emotions, but I am not them, from I am my thoughts to I have thoughts, but I am not them. We can draw on the Buddhist metaphor of the raft to illustrate this journey. Building the boat first, constructing a stable self to cross the turbulent flows of life, reaching the shore after landing, naturally letting go of the raft and stepping onto the other shore. But if we carry the raft on our backs, it becomes a burden. We must have the boat first before we can talk about setting it down. If we have never truly possessed a healthy, complete self, then so-called forgetting the self and oneness are nothing but illusory fantasies. Those Western philosophers who engage with Eastern wisdom are often thinkers seeking to critique and transcend traditional metaphysics, logocentrism, and technological domination. What they find in the East is an alternative vision, a non-objectifying, holistic way of thinking that emphasizes non-action, aligns with emptiness, and harmonizes with following condition. This is not mere similarity, but a resonance across time and space, a creative dialogue that infuses profound nourishment into the development of global philosophy. We are searching for a path that integrates Western psychology's emphasis on self-actualization with Eastern wisdom's pursuit of transcending the self, offering modern people a complete spiritual blueprint that is both grounded and lofty. This is not a compromise, but perhaps a deeper, more solid wisdom. Similarly, the Eastern perspective in mathematics and cryptography is just another path mapped from a different angle. If we can affirm the existence of irrational numbers in a world constructed by electromagnetic forces, why can't we explore the mathematical organizational methods of ancient Chinese philosophy within Western mathematics? Well, should you find yourself in agreement, I would appreciate your like. We welcome all kindred spirits to freely share their insights.